Alright, hey guys, hole 2, you can see my modified bag here that I'm going to go with. Definitely recommend bringing quarterback for this one. And, as long as your B52 here is, I would say a level 4, you should be good to go for this. The accuracy is a little bit lower. I usually play kind of maybe 1.3, 1.4 per ring with a B52 4, but 5, 6, and 7, they play very similarly, and it won't be too bad at all. Using any of those, that's what I'm going to recommend for a long iron approach here, would be using one of those selections. But aside from that, that was very close. That was very close. So you do want to be a little bit cautious when you go about setting this up. And you also want to kind of get it down there as far as possible. So let's see what I'm looking at power-wise. What I usually do, first off, I'm going to come off just slightly on this power. As you can see, my opponent did run through. And I want to make sure that, I can kind of land right in here. And you can see there's 5 rings. For this, I'm going to play it right around 9-ish rings. And you'll also see that, I'll very, very, very minimally power this. And there you can see perfect ball. And you can see a little bit of room to spare, but not much. So you do need to be a little bit cautious with your overpower on this. Pay attention to your wind angle. But you can see in terms of direction and, distance, that's going to put me in long iron territory. So you're going to have a few options, as long as you have backbone 4, like I mentioned, you can use kind of closer to a 1.4 per ring adjustment. I'm going to use much closer to kind of like 0.9 for mine, more than likely, depending on if I'm at max or not. But that's going to be roughly pretty close to what I use for my shot at a max club or level 5, for instance. The only, the spin and ball guide improves, not much else from 5 on. So it plays very similarly either way. And here you can see I'm actually not towards max club. So you might actually just see me play 1 per ring, almost spot up here. The only thing that I will do is I usually use some top spin here. So here you're going to see me use right around 1 bar or so. And as I mentioned, in this situation, I am going to play very, very close to 1 per ring. So I'm going to be looking at right around 8.2, maybe just a fraction more. Perfect ball. Let's just see how this looks. Coming in nice, and just a little bit of an underplay. So you can see the 1 per ring, just a little bit under. Keep in mind that it's going to vary a little bit. It's going to depend on whether or not you get far enough there in terms of, proximity to the hole. Keep in mind that I'm not even in plus yardage on that shot. I wasn't even to where it said, regular max club with a power 0 ball, for instance. So keeping that in mind, you're going to have to, if you are into that plus yardage where you need to, you'll have to go even more than I just did. In that same shot, in that situation, the ball's going to be in the air longer. It's going to travel farther, and you might hit it, for instance, a little bit farther. But let me, just for kicks here, I don't see really any reason for you to, maybe switch clubs, but I'm going to go back to this notebook site here, and we're going to go to, because what you guys saw me do was quarterback 10, for instance, with a power 3 ball. And in terms of my coloring, it was very yellow. It was not very much power. It was probably like this, maybe 5 to 6 yards, somewhere in here, in terms of my needle color. So let's just, for argument here, go to quarterback 9, for instance. No, quarterback 8, just in case you guys have a little bit underdeveloped. You're going to have a little bit different yardage. So I want to give you guys a little bit similar shot here. And here you can see needle color power-wise. You can see we need to get roughly right around 4 extra yards. So you can see kind of the positioning inside the ball circle, kind of similarly to what I did, except with a little bit of curl that I applied. And you can see here, with a little bit underdeveloped, or if you were to switch balls, you can play around with the balls. Let's say, say you only have power 1 balls, for example, Navigator, for instance, and you wanted to match up the winds and play a very similar shot to me. Well, then you need to get, so this is going to make the shot even harder because of the fact that you need to go into so much power. So I'm looking for right around 239 or so. So right around here, you can see an equivalent shot here is going to be almost max. So you're going to lose quite a bit of accuracy, but not to mention, you're making that second shot could be a little bit harder, because if you need to get into that plus yardage case, with a B52, for instance, I have about 10 yards of plus yardage. You'll only have, with a power 1 ball, about 3 yards. So it gives you a lot less room to play around with. But just something to keep in mind. I'm not going to go over the extra mile case with you guys, because I really don't think it's just not a very important club to drive. You can see that I can very easily pull this off with a quarterback. So there's going to be no use for me to even pull out an extra mile or anything else similar and give up that accuracy. So, but do keep in mind, if you need to, you'll have to back off the power accordingly. But in any regard, good luck there, guys, and I'll catch you guys for hole 3 coming up.